All right, welcome everyone to another Matt Maran Motoring live stream here on the Matt Maran Motoring YouTube channel. Hope you're all having a good weekend here so far. I know there's definitely some crappy stuff in the world going on right now, but hopefully we can have some fun here, just hanging out, talking cars, and just focusing on the one thing that bonds us here currently. And so anyway, see, we have a bunch of people already joined in here. Thanks to Austin, Brian, Trenton Car Guy, the members that joined, as well as Kevin, Omar, John, and Vishal. Thanks so much for joining everyone so far. And so, like all the other usual live streams, I'm going to give priority answering to anyone who does a super chat or a super thanks, and also anyone who's a member gets priority answering here in the live stream. And I'll probably try and go for about 2 hours. I am still recovering a little bit. I'm mostly back to normal. My voice isn't probably going to be 100% for 2 hours, so we'll see how I go. But thanks for asking, Austin, about how I'm feeling. I am definitely, I'd say 95%, maybe 99. I'm very, very close, but my voice is still not 100%. So we'll see. But try and go for 2 hours, and we'll play it by ear. But anyway, let me see. So Brian, thanks for saying good evening here. I see a few others have joined in. Kyle, Jazz, MDKN, and Joe. Thanks for joining in, everyone. And so let me get to some of the questions here. So Kevin's also asking how I'm feeling today. Feeling much better. Thanks for asking. It was definitely a rough 2.5 weeks between getting sick, and then I also was recovering from a medical little procedure that I had done. So between the two things, I was not in tip-top shape for a while here, so I'm happy to be back to normal and full strength and able to do everything that I'm wanting to do. Unfortunately, it means I've been behind on car reviews. That's why I only posted one car review this past week. Typically I do two, and I'm gonna try and get back in the saddle here this week and get in the bullet and go out and film some car reviews here this week and get back to the usual amount of content here. So thanks so much for asking, though. And let me see. So MD Can says, missed you last week, was excited to see you, but you got sick. Yeah, just one of those things. Whenever you're a one-man crew and you're the whole show, it's like if I go down, the whole thing goes down. So it's unfortunate, but happy I'm back here. And let me see. So let me see. The first question here from Omar saying, I'm thinking of buying a 3-row SUV from the midstream and luxury SUV segment under 68 grand. It's going to come down to a lot of different things as far as what you're looking for. For anyone that's looking for cars, I always need a lot more context to make a good recommendation, because there isn't just one blanket recommendation. I know a lot of other car reviewers say this one's a 10, this one's a 9, and that applies to everyone. But like, to me, it's not a one size fits all thing. So Omar, if you'd like to send me a Facebook message with all the details of what you're looking for out of a luxury crossover, we can drill down separately in a separate conversation and try and figure out exactly what would be the perfect fit for you. I do that all the time with lots of other people. I'm more than happy to chat with you more about exactly what you're looking for. And John says, hey man, I hope you're feeling better than last week. One thing I come to realize is that a manual transmission is becoming a huge luxury feature in cars nowadays. Very true. It is definitely not only like a luxury thing, but also like an exclusivity thing. It's this like exclusive club now, even more so than before. And like Porsche, they have manual only for some of their models. So if you want to have the most collectible stuff, you got to be into the manuals. And there's some other companies that are doing that as well. And I'm happy to see a little resurgence in the manual, like I talked about 2 weeks ago in the weekly update. They're getting more and more popular ever so slightly, and that's a step in the right direction in my mind. And Vishal says, hey, man, hope you're feeling better. My question is, they made a Mustang. If they made a Mustang Bullet convertible, would you have bought it or still have gone for the coupe? It's a great question. I do love convertibles, as you probably know. So I would be tempted by it. But the thing about the Bullet is I want the car that looks like a modern version of the movie car. The movie car is a hardtop, so by default, it would have to be a hardtop. Same thing, like I don't love black leather interiors. I think they're kind of boring sometimes. But that's what the movie car had. So like, that's what I wanted in the Bullet. And there wasn't even an option for a different color, but like other Mustangs, you can get like a tan leather and red now and some other stuff, which would be really cool. And I love colorful interiors, but with that car, I just wanted it to be like a modern interpretation. So that's why I had to be, as close as possible to that 1968 car. But great question. Thanks for asking. And BT Aurora, thank you so much for the first super chat here of the night. They're saying, is Challenger RT 5.7 reliable? Thanks. I think they are pretty reliable. I mean, that 5.7 gets used in all the trucks, and it's been around for a long time in the Challenger, the Charger, And it's also one of the less strained V8s. It's basically the least powerful V8 that they offer. So it's not like the 6.4 is super strained or anything, but the 5.7 is just very conservatively tuned, very, old school with its setup. So yeah, I would say the 5.7 is reliable. Now, I'm not an expert in them, so I can't say 100%, but from everything I've gathered after, all the years of doing this and people I've talked to and things I've seen and heard, I would say, yes, it's a reliable motor. It might even be probably the most reliable potentially out of all the muscle cars. The 5 liters up there, especially. Yeah, I'd say the 5-liter Mustang motor is close, but I think the 5.7 Challenger motor is probably even a little bit better. So, yeah, very solid motor in my opinion. And thanks so much for the super chat. Getting up to some other member questions here. I don't want to miss them. So Raphael says, "Hi Matt, hope you're feeling better. Gonna be back in the live stream." Yeah, thank you so much, Raphael. Yeah, definitely feeling better. So like I said, I might not go the full 2 hours depending on how my voice does, because I'm like 95%, I'd say, but hopefully we'll be able to go the full time. Two says, "Hey guys, sorry I missed the last stream. I was trying to plan the escape from the basement. Kyle, keep bringing people in. We can use them to escape. Their bodies will be helpful." Two, you're hilarious. Always with the basement jokes. And let me see. Joe says, "What are your general thoughts on van life car culture?" I know very little about van life. I didn't even really consider that honestly part of like car culture. I guess technically it is, but to me, like the van life thing isn't people that are actually like into their vehicles per se, more so into what their vehicle enables for their life as far as adventuring or just housing them or whatever the case is. Unless there's a subset of that that's in the car culture that I'm unaware of. I am not generally, I'm just not super into, I'm not immersed in car culture anymore. I don't go to car meets really, aside from, the occasional Cars and Coffee, which is, car culture, I guess, in its own way, but it's, not full of a ton of culture. It's just a bunch of rich people with their, nice cars typically. But, so yes, I don't know much about car culture actually these days. I stick to, mostly OEM stuff. I do drive modded stuff every once in a while, but as far as van life, I know nothing about van life aside from the stuff that they show on, HGTV or something. Not like I watch that a lot, but you see like tiny house stuff and all that on there. That's really the only thing I know about van life. I'm completely ignorant, unfortunately. So not a good person to ask about that, honestly. And let me see other questions here. So thanks for joining in, everyone. I see we have Wild Frames and Greg and Luke. And Fook says, "Hi, Matt and everyone. Just got out of work and listening on my way home. Thanks for joining in." Mystical Gamer says, "Hey, Matt, what's up? Nothing much. Just having fun here. Happy to be able to get back to do the live streams. I miss doing these. So it's so good to be back after a week off there. And so, yeah, just glad to be hanging out with everyone." So Two says, "Van life is greater than basement life. At least you're not forced to play Raid Shadow Legends with Kyle." Yeah, man. And Paul says, "Hi, Matt. What is your opinion on the protective coating you put on your Bullet? Do you highly recommend it?" So the Bullet has a couple different things on it. So it has the Expel paint protection film on it, and then it also has a Ceramic Pro ceramic coating on it. I highly recommend the Expel. I think Expel is amazing. Just especially if you're someone who doesn't want to have to be OCD about their car. The thing with the Expel is it has the self-healing qualities. So, if I happen to, bump into it or graze it with my jeans or something, I don't have to freak out about that because you literally pour hot water or let it bake in the sun and that film heals itself. It's good for 10 years and it protects the paint. So you also don't have to worry about every single little rock chip you might hear on the highway and things like that. So I love the Expel protection and I highly recommend if it's a car you care about, put it on there. I think it's worth every penny. Now, the ceramic coating, now I'm not a ceramic coating expert. I'm not even an expert in the detailing world anymore. I used to be a detailer long time ago in a former life, but haven't done it in over a decade, really, as far as anything professional. But I'm not in love with the ceramic coat because the ceramic coat basically negates all of those luxuries that you're afforded with the Expel film. Because with ceramic, it scratches really easily. You have to be really careful about it. You have to put a new top layer on so that it doesn't wear out. And if you try and take the ceramic coating off, then it can be like a real big pain, and it's like this giant annoyance for a true ceramic coating. Now there's like, ceramic infused waxes and all these other things. That stuff doesn't count, but I'm talking about an actual like multiple layer ceramic coating. I think in hindsight, I wouldn't do that again. I think there's a lot of hype, especially back then, for that. I think there still is a lot of hype these days, but I'm not on the hype train for ceramic coatings personally. I think I mean, maybe I'm old school. I don't mind just waxing my car, and I kind of enjoy doing that. And that's the whole like angle with ceramic coating. It's like, oh, you don't have to wax it, and it looks super amazing all the time. But the downside is like if you don't keep up on the ceramic coating, or for example, if you don't wash your car frequently enough, you can get stains in that ceramic coating. And the same thing could be true of like clear coat. It's basically like putting a clear coat back on top of the Expel. And with the Expel, if it was just Expel, you can treat it like crap basically, and it'll be fine. And for me, especially being as busy as I am and not having every weekend free to just sit there and polish my wheels for 5 hours on a Saturday, like I don't have that luxury. So for me, like I don't want something that's like labor intensive or that requires a lot of attention from me. And the ceramic coating, I feel like I have to baby the finish on the bullet because of the ceramic coating. So that's my honest thoughts. I actually wouldn't recommend ceramic coating if you are my personality type. Again, everyone likes something different, but that's my 2 cents on that. But Expel 100% recommend. And if there's ever another car that I do in the future, or just if the Expel, so the Expel is good for 10 years. So I'm already halfway through. So in another 5 years, if the Expel has to come off, then that'll be like the golden opportunity. Now I have ceramic on the whole car. I only have Expel on the hood, the front bumper, the headlights, the mirrors, the like running board kind of area there, and then right around the trunk area. So it's not the whole thing, but I think that I'm going to try to maybe undo the ceramic stuff on the rest of the car and maybe reapply Expel and then get back to having that peace of mind potentially. We'll see. But anyway, long answer to your question, but there you have it. Raphael, thank you so much for the super chat. He says, Camry TRD on a road trip, fun and comfortable, 34 hours driving over 3 days and average 32 mpg, all roads and state routes, no highways. Absolutely fun. That sounds like a blast. Sounds like an awesome road trip. Thanks for sharing. And glad to hear that they're comfortable too with the TRD springs and the tuning of that suspension there. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but around me, I see a lot of Camry TRDs. I think they really struck a sweet spot of having just enough equipment, just enough performance, and that Camry reliability. It's really a sweet spot, I think, in a lot of ways, especially whenever they upgraded the interior a little bit so it wasn't like almost base Camry like it used to be. They've kind of upgraded over the years. So now I think it's a lot even more appealing than it used to be. But yeah, love the Camry TRD. And thanks for chiming in. Thank you so much for the super chat as well, Raphael. I really appreciate it. And let me see. So Mike says, do you have a prediction for the 2024 Challenger and Charger? Do you think a next-gen gas version on STLA Large is finished? And if not, would be ready for 2025? I know there's been no spy shots. Yeah, that is still I don't know which way is up as far as the Dodge muscle car stuff. I mean, on the conference call that me and other journalists were on with Tim Kuniskis himself, he said when people asked him, like, what about putting the gas motor in STLA? He's like, we can do it, but like we're doing the electric. Like that's what we're going for. Like maybe down the road we will consider gas, was kind of his, not, I mean, I'm not quoting him directly, but paraphrasing, he was basically saying like, look, we're doing the electric thing, like get the gas thing out of your head. Like maybe, yeah, sure, down the road we can do gas or something. And it almost seemed like not annoyed, but like just didn't want to even talk about gas. Like he just was focused on the electric one. That's what they're excited about. And so they've said that, but then there's still so many missing pieces. Where do you go with Challenger? If Charger is going to be the two-door, is there going to be, two-door Charger and then four-door Charger? Is Challenger, he's going to throw all that equity of that name and that recognition and the styling, throw that out the window? I don't think so. So like, is that going to be gas? And, we're talking about Charger, and Charger's electric, and then split them off and have Challenger have the Hurricane 6 with maybe some hybrid assistance for a Hellcat and keep that as Challenger only and keep the Charger as the electric one. or blend them all, and maybe he was just bluffing, and they're full of crap, and the electric one's not going to come for another 5 years, and we're going to have just the Hurricane 6 in a refreshed old Challenger and Charger still or something. I have no clue. They're doing so good at hiding everything because I haven't seen any spy shots of anything, whether it's electric or gas or whatever. And I think they said 2024, right, is when it's supposed to come out. I believe that was what was thrown around as as a 2025 model year thing. But then now, I would have been inclined to be like, okay, well, we'll just have to wait and see. But I'm inclined to believe what they say. But then they pulled the bait and switch thing on us with the Ram and showed us this awesome Ram electric concept, and then basically, blocked the nose off of a regular 1500 and said, actually, this is the electric version. And it's like, okay, well, what was that about? Like, and so I hope they don't pull the same crap with the Charger and they're like, oh, that was just a fun concept, but actually we're going to put new headlights on the Charger and the Challenger and, swap in the Hurricane 6 and this is the new thing or something. I mean, there could be something like that too. So I have no clue. I wish I had a better idea. And I've even talked to other journalists that are closer to Dodge than I am and haven't gotten anything heads or tails as far as what to expect from them. It's I don't know. They're doing a really good job right now of keeping everyone confused and on the edge of their seat. There was nothing at Roadkill Nights back in August. There was nothing in Detroit last month. We'll see if there's anything in LA. I have no idea. They also Dodge does like to do a lot of stuff at SEMA, which is coming up here in about 3 weeks. And fun fact, I will actually be at SEMA this year. If anyone else that's in the industry and is going to SEMA, hopefully I'll be able to maybe meet up with some people or something. We'll just see. And there'll be more details about that. I will announce stuff as we get closer to that date. But if you are someone that's going to SEMA or going to SEMA Ignited, I'll probably be around on that Friday as well, or whatever they call the SEMA Ignited thing. But anyway, so maybe Dodge will do something there. I don't know though. It's really it's one of the few things. It's like that and like what happened to the STI are like the two things that are like eating away at me. Like I really want to know and I have no clue. Typically I can make an educated guess about a lot of stuff, but those are the two things that are like complete mysteries to me. So at least with the Charger, time will tell and eventually we will have an answer. The Subaru thing could be a mystery forever. We'll have to see. But anyway, thank you for the question. Deidre, thank you so much for the super chat. It said, hi Matt, hope all is well. I just bought a 2004 Honda Element with 204,000 miles and I'm loving it. Well, congrats. That's awesome. I hardly ever see Elements anymore, but they are so cool. They're great little cars. And I wish that's another one. Like Honda should bring back the Element, especially, with all these funky designs as far as like, I think that'd be a perfect new electric vehicle to bring back the Element. And I don't know. I hope that maybe they do that someday, or even just like the Element as like a rugged box, going back to the van life thing, make it this boxy, like Volkswagen ID Buzz competitor or something. I think that'd be really cool to do. But I mean, those old ones are awesome as well. I don't know if you have the manual or not. That may give you some extra cool points there, but yeah, Elements are awesome and congrats. Hope it still lasts you a good long while. I mean, it's a Honda, so 204,000 miles should be fine, I'm sure. And congrats. And thanks for joining in here on the live stream. Thank you for the super chat as well. And Jeremy says, hey man, is it worth it to wait for the ND3 or get an ND2 right now? 2023 ND2s have a pretty good discount right now. Interesting. I didn't know they were discounted. That's going to come down to what you think about all the changes. Some people were like, oh no, I don't want adaptive cruise. I don't want, all this safety stuff. So they're running out and buying, the 2023s right now. A lot of other people, though, would like the new infotainment, would like the new diff potentially. I mean, no one's driven it yet, so we don't know, if it's actually as good as Mazda's claiming. It's an improvement, obviously. But so it's going to come down to you and what you're really wanting out of it. And also, is that stuff worth whatever the discount is? If you can get $2-3 grand off or whatever it is, then, is the new infotainment system worth that much? So I mean, that'll come down to what you think. If it were me personally, I always like having the newest thing, so I'd probably be inclined to wait for the ND3, but ND2 is fantastic and has zero issues. I mean, it's still totally fine. It still has CarPlay. It still has everything you need. So I don't think you're really missing out on much. So can't go wrong either way, I'd say. Luke, thank you so much for the super chat. He says Honda should make the Element a Bronco sport competitor. That's another great idea. I totally agree. That would be another very viable thing that would print money for Honda, I think. And again, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess they have their own thing and they have their own plans and stuff, but like, I think that an Element would outsell even a Passport. I mean, I talked about in the weekly update, 2024 Passport, and it's the same thing. I don't even know why they bothered to like make an announcement because it's like hardly any different. But the Element as a Bronco Sport competitor would be awesome. They'd make so much money off of those. But instead, nothing. And thank you so much for the super chat, Luke. And getting back to the other member questions here. So Joe says, interesting because I'd say that's even more part of a car culture than not, since they modify a ton more than regular car people. They're super into their cars. Interesting. Okay, yeah, I'm just completely out of the loop. So I appreciate the little bit of insight there, and something I'll have to look into some more down the road. Because I mean, they definitely obviously do a ton of mods. I just always thought it was like mods for like livability, not for like the car itself. But like I said, I'm completely ignorant, so I have no clue what I'm talking about with van life stuff. And Raphael says, I've had mine 3 years and seen 5 others. That's it. Wow, that's crazy. I've seen probably at least 3 this week even. That's interesting. 2 says Matt doesn't let us detail his cars anymore. The last guy ran away. That's why we're in the basement. Chained to the radiator. The lore grows. Oh man, that's hilarious. So I guess it is Halloween time, so we can amp up the crazy the crazy fan stories there. Trend Car Guy says, I've seen a few TRD cameras. They look nice, but since I've moved to a new area, I have to get used to what people drive around here now. Interesting. Yeah, it definitely seems to vary by location for a lot of this stuff. Joe says, all right, Matt, you won $1 billion in a lottery draw. What are the first 3 things you do? Well, I mean, also like the first 3 things you're supposed to do, like to keep, yourself safe, like, open a trust, hire your legal team, hire for financial planners, all that kind of stuff. But as far as the first 3 like fun things I would do, buy a house with a lot of land so I can build a warehouse on it. And then start working on my car collection. I only need 2 things. That's it. Those are the 2 things that I'd be doing is get a house to hold all the cars and then buy all the cars. That's it. And I bought a ticket for this past drawing, and obviously no one won it, but I'll be buying another one here for tomorrow. And we can all dream, right? And it'd be fun if a car person actually won for once. It's always like, I feel like lottery, everyone who wins are like people that are like, I don't know, 75 years old and like don't have anything to use for the money. Like, oh, I guess I'll buy a new truck. And like, that's it. It's like, what? Like, why are you playing the lottery if you have like nothing you want to buy? It's just kind of insane. Like so many of like the lottery winner stories. It's like, what are you doing with the money? I don't know. Or like, well, I'll pay off my house. And it's like, man, like great goal, but like dream a little bigger here if you're going to play the lottery. I don't know. Maybe that's just me, but I always get frustrated because people who win, it just seems like they just, like it's like why even bother playing? They just don't even care. Anyway, little side tangent there. MDKN says the Element should come back in its original form, bring it back with either gas or hybrid or as an EV and make it a soft roader, kind of like the Bronco Sport. There you go. Yeah, I think we're all on the same page. So that'd be great. Austin says, hey, Matt, I'm considering selling my BMW 128i soon. Do you see the used market cooling or getting hotter in 2024? Debating if I should wait or not. I mean, as far as a 128 is concerned, I'd say like there's certain parts of the market that might get hotter as far as, like with the strikes and how long those continue to go on for. But that's not going to really, change your situation. As far as, the used market in general, I think it's going to really come down to, how things play out as far as inflation over the next few months. Student loans just start kicking back in here this month. We'll see how much pressure that puts on people to, whether they're going to start fire selling stuff or what the deal is, or if they're going to have less money, so they're going to go more into the used market. So I mean, I would say my inclination is that the used market will heat up more as time goes on here for the next, several months. But it's anyone's guess really, but I feel like you're going to have pressure just from the new stuff because there is going to be a delay now from the big 3 because of the strikes. It just hasn't hit yet, but those supplies will dwindle. That's going to then drive people into the used market. And even if they're not cross shopping into the BMW sector, you're going to have more buyers in the used market, and that could potentially prop up the whole used market a little bit. In addition to, again, people just saying, I can't afford new cars anymore for a variety of reasons. I feel like used stuff is only going to get hotter potentially, but I've no crystal ball over here, so I could be completely wrong, but that's my guess. As far as 128s, I don't know where you live, and as far as if it's rear-wheel drive, I'm guessing it'd be a 128 iX if it wasn't. So maybe if it's rear-wheel drive, you'd be better off waiting till the spring, so you don't have people that are scared about driving something rear-wheel drive through the winter. Potentially, that's the only other bit of advice I could suggest, possibly. But aside from that, I'd say it's anyone's guess. But the longer you wait, you might get more. But it's one of those things you can always wait longer. So you kind of have to figure out where the point is where you're just like, okay, I'm happy with this price, and and move on from there. So best of luck to you, though. Hopefully you can find a sweet spot there for yourself. And MD Can says, yeah, replace the passport with the Element. Totally agree. MD Can says, what about Beth as far as I'm not, as far as like maybe what she would do for the lottery stuff. She'd, I'm sure, have all kinds of things she'd want to buy as well. Yeah, she's got her own things she'd want, as far as purses and clothes and new tech and all that kind of stuff, all kinds of stuff, as well as cars. She's got several cars she'd love to have too. So yeah, and Craig says, yeah, first ask Beth what to do as far as the lottery winnings. Yeah, no, we're on the same page for sure. We definitely the only thing is we do love our current house. So that'd be kind of one of the bittersweet things if, for in some insane way we end up winning a bunch of money, is, it'd be really sad to leave. So we almost, like, I would love to win like some crazy amount just to have all the cars, but I think, from an actual true happiness standpoint, it'd just be nice to win a little bit and, have our house be really nice and just stay where we're at or something. But that's the other thing. I think Beth would really be sad to leave because we do love our house here. And Raphael says, the first thing I do is spend a day crying because all the bills will be paid off. Amen to that one. Yeah. You and me and most other people out there in the world. Yeah, that would be a huge relief on its own, in addition to buying all this stuff. Two says, get a bigger basement. Yeah, well, that'd be a given. So I guess it'd be an upgrade for you as well, too. So you could come along for the ride and be in the pimped out gigantic mansion basement. Although I guess mansion basements are typically creepy too. So sorry, I guess it's a little bit of an upgrade. And let me see. Jazz says, if you're going to SEMA, then you will miss the Tokyo Auto Show. I would love to go to the Tokyo Auto Show. I'll be covering it from my hotel room, from my hotel room is where I'll be at that point. So yeah, I'll cover it there, but that's a dream. I think Tokyo is probably, out of all the places that I haven't been yet, I think Tokyo is probably my number one place I want to go. Currently, it's just, I love everything that at least I know about Japan, everything I've heard about Japan from other people who've went. I've had some close friends that have went that loved it. I love the culture. The people are just, they seem to be so kind and so considerate, and just the car culture is amazing. I'm still a JDM fanboy at heart. And yeah, I desperately want to go to Tokyo. Hopefully someday I make it there. But SEMA's not a bad consolation prize either. Trenton Car Guy says, don't get my hopes up since I just moved and have a job interview tomorrow. Well, best of luck with the job interview. Hope it goes well. Joe says, Matt's trigger points, lottery, Doug DeMuro, and STI. Bingo. Jazz says, will you do any videos from SEMA? Maybe you said and I missed it. So that is still, I will be doing videos. As far as what I will be doing, not totally sure. So I'm going to SEMA with a sponsor. So that's the only reason why I'm going, because it's from a content standpoint, there's no way I'd ever, I've done a couple of videos a long time ago when I used to go to SEMA of like walking around, like, here's my top 10 picks at SEMA and stuff. No one watched those videos. So it doesn't make sense for me with my audience that's into car reviews and car news, unless there's like, Dodge does some kind of cool debut or something. If there's something car news related, then it's, potential, valuable content. But most of the time it's just a complete waste for me to film anything at SEMA, to be honest. So I'll be filming content because I'm getting paid for it from the sponsor, and that will be posted on my my channels and stuff. But it's not going to I'm not going to be doing anything else. I'm going to see, I may still have a little bit of free time to potentially work out maybe a car review or two with people in Vegas. I don't currently have anyone in Vegas that's offered me anything. So if you are in Vegas or thereabouts, send me an email if you have a cool car you want to offer me. And maybe I'll have time for a review or two while I'm out there. But aside from that, yeah, it's probably just going to be sponsor stuff out there, and that's probably going to be it. I may do some stories on Instagram or something just for kicks as well, but just to be like, hey, look, I think this thing's really cool and I want to share it with people. But that's basically it. It's not going to be any kind of comprehensive video or anything like that. Luke, thank you so much for the super chat. He says, I'd be happy to win like 3 million, a nice house, 2 cars, keep like 100 grand in savings, put the rest in an IRA and still work a job like a normal life. Yeah, that's, I mean, because I love what I do too. So, I mean, that's kind of, yeah, the dream for me is just the financial freedom of like, I don't have to worry about every single video doing well. I could just like post for fun and that's it, and yeah, have that backup would be great. That definitely would be the nice way to go about it for sure. And, I think that's also the way you keep yourself from going crazy, because it seems like all these horror stories, these people that won these huge jackpots, I mean, I guess a lot of them just probably don't do the proper things to protect yourself. It's a lot of them are just like, hey, here I am on TV. And then they have a million people hounding them and death threats or whatever. And then just, spirals and turns into a bunch of misery. But if you do it right, I have confidence you can walk away with a huge prize and be completely anonymous and ride off into the sunset and actually like have a good time. But yeah, having a few million, I think we all could still be totally happy with that too. And thanks so much again for the super chat, Luke. And let me see. So other questions here. Two says, on a serious note, I bought an Auto Sky dongle for the Camry. It's okay with a slight lag. Also, it's kind of sketchy to put it straight into the USB port. I don't know what an Auto Sky dongle is. Is that like a CarPlay kind of thing? I know there's a bunch of those, but I've never heard of the Auto Sky thing. So I'll have to look into that. But hopefully it's working well for you. Caleb, thank you so much for the super chat. He says, love the content, bud. Been watching since the Super X fan days. Well, thanks so much for joining in. I really appreciate the generous super chat there. And just, yeah, thanks for hanging out here on the live stream and for the support all these years as well. It always blows me away the amount of people that have been watching that long. And it's very humbling. And it just blows me away. So thank you for all the years of support. It means so much. And Jazz says, I think I heard Tesla/Musk is reducing some Tesla vehicles again. Is this an opportunity for people who might have interest in the brand? So I'm not sure. I haven't heard what you're mentioning there. And if they are dwindling down inventory, that's probably because, at least as far as the Model 3 goes, there's the new one that's already been revealed in Europe that we strangely still have no info on here for the US version after, what has it been, like a month and a half now or something? I don't know. But so that's probably why the Model 3, they're probably just scaling down production because they're going to switch over the plants. As far as any other stuff Tesla-wise, I'm out of the loop as far as I haven't heard anything about that. So excuse me, feel free to elaborate if there's some other stuff I'm missing. We can chat more about it. But MD Can says, my mom ordered her 2024 Wrangler Rubicon X a few weeks ago, and she has yet to receive any updates as of Tuesday. Well, I mean, yeah, if it hasn't already been built, that's one of the ones that's being, obviously, as you know, probably sitting at the plant because of the strikes. That whole line is just dead. So it's at the mercy of when the strikes are over if hers didn't get built. And if she just placed the order a few weeks ago, and I mean, the strike's been going on, 3 weeks now, probably hasn't been built yet. So yeah, hopefully she doesn't have to wait too much longer, or yeah, I guess maybe other 24 is already on dealer lots. She could maybe find, hunt one down somewhere if she doesn't want to wait. Hopefully it won't be much longer for these strikes. It seems like they're maybe making some progress here. We'll just have to wait and see. Kyle, thank you so much for gifting the 5 memberships there. I really appreciate the support, and I'm sure all the people that grabbed those memberships also really appreciate it as well. But thank you for your generosity, Kyle. I always appreciate it. And thanks for joining in too, Kyle, every week, just on the live stream. I really appreciate it. And let me see here. So MD Can says the strike is killing her husband's patience. Yeah, the strike is definitely not fun. Yeah, I hope, like I said, I hope things get resolved here relatively soon. Says, hey, Matt, happy Sunday. Have you ever thought about doing an annual recap, long video where you review the year's top cars, top 3 sports cars, top 3 trucks, SUVs, bargain, best overall, etc. Well, at the end of every year, I do like my annual look back of like the top 10 reviews that I've done this year. So I do that every year. As far as doing like a ranking thing, I feel like I kind of just encapsulate that in my top 10 of the year thing. Because I just try and stay away from ranking videos, because it's just, to me, it's a very self-centered thing for me to be like, here's my top 3, because just because it's my top 3 doesn't mean it's your top 3. And I don't want to be that self-indulgent, just be like, oh, well, here's my opinion, so this is like what everyone should think. Like, and that's why I just do it once a year at the end of the year. Like, here's my top 10 that I just am thankful that I reviewed this year. Not like the best 10 cars of the year or anything, but just my favorites, and just kind of doing that little thing. And that's it. Comparison videos can be valuable if it's, objective and you just kind of lay the info out there. But whenever you start ranking and you start doing, scores and stuff, that's where it's, again, I get back to, in my opinion, there's not a one size fits all thing for anybody. So that's why I try and just not do rankings, just because, again, I think it's the greatest thing ever, and someone else might think it's the dumbest thing ever. And they can have a totally valid opinion based on their needs, their wants, their likes, whatever. And, I can't expect that person to have the same opinion as me. So that's kind of why. But I mean, yeah, definitely, if you haven't seen, definitely keep an eye out for my end of the year video. It's usually either bundled in with a weekly update if it's a slow news week, or I just do it as a separate standalone video there right towards the end of the year and do like my annual recap then. Let me see. Jazz says, I'm disappointed that Toyota didn't invite you to the Tokyo show and sponsor your travel. I think at 444,000 subscribers, you'd be a consideration for that arrangement. I don't know if Toyota's hosting anyone for, I haven't heard of them hosting anyone. The only person I know who's going to Tokyo is going on their own dime. So I'm sure maybe there is, a few people that might be brought by some companies. If Toyota is bringing people, I am far from the top of their list. I mean, Toyota really likes me. I have a great relationship with them, but 444,000 subscribers doesn't mean a lot these days, especially these days where subscribers don't really matter very much. I mean, they help a little bit, but it's kind of just like a veneer for a channel to be like, hey, look, like this channel has these followers, but if you're not putting out videos that engage those followers, then it's worthless. I mean, there's channels that have 1/3 the amount of subscribers I do that are getting double, triple, quadruple the amount of views that I'm getting. So I think, as far as, you look at like one of my debut videos, like the Toyota Land Cruiser video, was that 15,000 views or something? There's a lot of smaller channels that got way more than 15,000 views on their Land Cruiser debut videos. So I think, Toyota has a lot of other people they would invite way before me. I'm way down the totem pole there. Unfortunately, just, for me, I don't get huge views on most stuff unless it's the freak, successes like the Impala SS that's from 2007, random stuff like that. But as far as new car debuts, it's really a very competitive thing. And so I am far from a top consideration for anything. I have to, especially these days, this year in particular, I've had to beg for more invites than I usually have to. A lot of times it was just a given. I just got invites to stuff. Now I have to I hear from other journalists like, oh, you're not on this event. You should email them and see if they have any extra spaces. And then sometimes they squeeze me in or something. But I'm not a top invite for most companies these days. So it's just the way it goes. If you don't have the views, you don't have anything, so it's all about the views still. And Caleb, thank you so much for joining the club. I really appreciate it and the support, and I'll keep an eye out if you have any other follow-up questions here. Definitely answer those here along with all the other member questions. Let me see. Truck and Car Guy says, I'm thinking I'm about 4 hours from Vegas where I am now, but I think the road trip took a toll on my ride, so I got to get a few issues resolved. Well, so I thought you were a little closer, Truck and Car Guy, unless I'm getting your location confused. But anyway, 4 hours is a little bit of a drive there. But if you're around Vegas, around SEMA time, definitely send me an email. Austin says, yeah, I don't get it either, Jazz. Other YouTubers with lower quality reviews seem to get preferential treatment. Yeah, I mean, quality is irrelevant these days. It's all about the views anyway. And, you know, it doesn't even matter about the quality of the information. You know, if it's just pointing at stuff on a TikTok video for 30 seconds and that gets, you know, way more views, even though the views are like a millisecond of scrolling through a feed on TikTok, which is why those views are so inflated. But that looks better. And car companies are like, wow, look at all these views. And it's just a giant number. And so they get invites on stuff, whether or not it actually is leading to people buying cars. Like I know many of you have sent me messages like, this review was really great. I bought a car because of it. Is anyone buying a car because they saw someone pointing at crap on TikTok? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. Anyway, that's that's a whole other tangent I won't get into. But yeah, it's not about quality these days. It's not about subscribers. It's just about how many views did this piece of content get. That's really the bottom line, I think. And there's still some legacy people that, you know, if you're just working for a giant magazine or you've just been in the business for 30 years and you just get default invites to everything for your 5,000 newsletter subscribers to read. I mean, it's amazing. There still are so many of these people that are like really like have no viewership or even a social media presence, and they're still on these things. But yet I'm trying to fight to get into stuff. So it's this very odd mismatch, but it's the way it goes. It's like any other job, you know, there's fun parts and not fun parts. I'm very thankful I have a lot of fun parts with my job, but there's a lot of behind the scenes hair pulling that happens. And it's really annoying trying to get the opportunities sometimes. Anyway, and let me see. Jazz says, sorry about Tesla, meaning lowering the prices again. Gotcha. Okay, I didn't hear about more price cuts, but it seems like it's something every week they're switching the prices up. You know, I think that case, especially if we're talking again about Model 3, then we're talking about them trying to get the last ones out the door for the people who either don't care or don't realize that there's a new one literally already out, you know, and trying to clear out that old inventory, you know. So I think that makes sense. And if someone doesn't care, then sure, go for it. You know, get a nice discount on one if, you know, Tesla's your thing. You know, good to see them, I guess, be more affordable if nothing else. And let me see other member questions here. Two says, Palpatine voice. Yes, Cal, bring in the fresh blood. Jazz says, Matt Motormouth, Zach in Vancouver is being sponsored to go to Tokyo by Toyota for the auto show, and he has 307,000 subscribers, but he does put out 3 videos a week. Okay, well, I mean, it's the same as me, really. I do, you know, 3 videos a week typically as well. I didn't hear that he was being sponsored. I know a lot of people in the industry. I don't really talk with them, but yeah, I haven't heard of anyone else going to Tokyo. I can ask around for sure and see, but I mean, it's probably too late to try and get in on that one anyway. But it's interesting because the one person I know who is tight with Toyota and would have gotten an invite is going on their own dime. So I don't know. That's surprising to hear. Well, thank you for the info. I didn't know. And Dorian says, I've been drinking Oktoberfest beer today. And again, will Nand never drink normally? I guess you have been drinking because I'm struggling to read your comment. With a chick. Now she is wondering what the hell this is. Well, thanks for joining in. Feel free to log off, Dorian, if you've got more fun things there with the beer and the company. Feel free to hop off. But thanks for joining in here on the live stream. Hope you're doing well. Two says, dang, even the Toyota shell doesn't get a hookup. Yeah, that's so there you go. There's your proof that I'm not a Toyota shell. I'm not getting invites for stuff that I didn't even know was happening. So there you go. I'm still just a lowly little YouTuber here trying to make my way in the world. Jazz says, Matt, the 2024 Nautilus has this epic dash that goes all the way across the dash. Looks really cool. Have you seen it on the line? Seen it online? Industry reports. Yeah, I covered the new Nautilus whenever it came out. I think that was back in the spring. Looks really promising. I'm excited for it. I think the only thing that could potentially hurt the Nautilus is the fact that it's gonna be built in China, even for the US version. There's a lot of people that's still like a hold up. You know, they have their Chinese built phone in their pocket, but when it comes to cars, stay far away from Chinese built cars, apparently, according to some people. So that's the only thing that could potentially hurt it. But aside from that, it is fantastic. I mentioned it actually in my Lexus RX video that I just did, where I was like, you know, that could be the one really strong competitor that will actually have more tech than the Lexus and also offer a hybrid, since no one else is offering a hybrid. So I'm very excited for the new Nautilus. Lincoln doesn't pay me any attention at all, but I'm hoping to someday review the new Nautilus. Maybe that'd be fun. But yeah, I'm very excited for the new Nautilus. And Raphael says, I was thinking of my car now and the Supra and the GR Corolla. I had a 2002 Corolla, and that was less interesting than my microwave. Companies can change. Definitely. Totally agree. It's amazing the turnaround the Toyota's had. And Brianna says the new Corolla is unmatched. Yeah, the GR Corolla, I still love that vehicle. And speaking of, we were talking earlier about lottery stuff. I think GR Corolla, I would still actually, even if I had, millions and millions of dollars to buy all the supercars that I wanted to buy, I think I actually would add a GR Corolla to the collection as well, just as a fun, like, don't care about it winter car, just to like go rally around in a little GR Corolla would just be so much fun. That's how much I love the GR Corolla. Even if I had dozens of supercars lined up for me to drive, I'd still want a GR Corolla to just drive every once in a while for a lap because it's that much fun. I love the GR Corolla. And Austin says, hey, Matt, have you considered a presence on other alternate up-and-coming streaming platforms that have a lack of car-related content to help further differentiate yourself from the pack? That's a great idea, Austin. I'm not sure which platforms you're mentioning or thinking about there. The other thing about adding platforms is it just adds more time. But certainly if it's something where I can differentiate myself and be somewhere before someone else is, that's something I'm, definitely up for. I would try to really hop on the Threads thing really early on. And I still am actually posting on there. I know a lot of people like just bailed on it after the first, couple of days. I've still been actively on Threads and been posting my stuff on there. It's actually been getting about as many likes and eyeballs as it did on Twitter. So I'm, hoping that, maybe I can build up a little thing on Threads maybe, but as far as others platforms, if you have any ideas, feel free to send them over, Austin, and I will look into some other platforms, especially if it's something that doesn't take a bunch of extra time. If I can just, share links and don't have to do unique content, then that definitely makes it easier. Two says, unless it's a cover-up, they found out about your basement. They want to know how you did it. You're funny. Dorian says, new GR Corolla seems really fun. I'm going new MX-5 RF, though, direct and pretty, but not nearly as wacky fun. I mean, MX-5 is great. I'm never going to fault anyone for buying a Miata. They are so much fun for sure. But it's just different cars. If you live in a place where you have snow you got to worry about, GR Corolla is still an awesome pick. And let me see here. I see Chicken Finger says, hey, Matt, what are your thoughts on Vinfast? The company seems interesting with their battery subscription. They don't seem competitive on price, though. Yeah, the price seems crappy, and the reviews were hilarious. It was actually, like, hilarious. Like, not, like, just like, oh, this is, like, to me, like, I don't know. Like, there's a difference between, like, this car is just, like, not good, and then there's, like, actual funny bad. Like it was like almost like reading like an Onion article, reading some of these VinFast reviews about how stuff was just falling apart and was just like not ready for prime time. We will see. It sounds like they are very good at listening to feedback and they're being very humble about it and working really hard. So I don't want to, throw them under the bus or anything. I hope that they get everything worked out. They get the pricing worked out. And I hope they make fantastic cars down the road, but I can't take them seriously right now. And I won't until I know they at least make safe, reliable, quality cars, which doesn't seem to be the case, at least as far as the first early review units. Now, they're not the only company that ever have problems with the press vehicle. There's other companies that certainly have, but it just was like the mountain of stuff where it was like, holy crap. Like, did they actually want people to drive these and report on this? Because their judgment is not good if that's the case. But I hope, wishing them all the best. I never want to see a car company do badly. And so, but right now VinFast is kind of in the same bracket as like Fisker and all these others where it's like to be determined. Maybe someday they'll actually be a compelling, a vehicle, company, but for now, just like not something I can take seriously, honestly. Two says, I think platforms that contain the words hub or fans will work for Matt. Well, we're not circling the drain yet. So, we'll see, maybe if if the ad revenue really starts going downhill, I'll start selling feed pics or something. Just kidding. But yeah, let me see. Trent Cargo says there's a lot of fun cars I wish I could afford. Yeah, I think that's all of us for sure. Austin says, yeah, Rumble is one of them, Anthony, but that can be a bit polarizing these days due to the other content they host. Yeah, Rob, and there's been a couple other people that have mentioned that to me in the past. I mean, I actually had Rumble reach out to me probably, I don't know, maybe a year ago or something. And I just I had never actually heard of the platform. So I went on there and looked, and they actually, at least back then, they displayed like how much videos make like right there on the video. And I mean, even popular stuff was like making nothing. And it's another one of these things where like if I can make a few extra bucks, like I re-upload my videos onto Facebook because Facebook actually pays a few bucks, but it was like even less than that for Rumble. And I don't think that my content would do well on there because like as far as like the car stuff on Rumble, it was all just like anti-EV videos. And if I'm reviewing EVs, I mean, maybe I get a bunch of views because it'd be a bunch of hate, but it wouldn't be a community that I'd want to engage with if I'm trying to just do my job and people are just going to, spout off a bunch of conspiracy theories. So again, maybe it's changed. Maybe the platform will improve. It'll be more mainstream someday, and I can revisit it at that point if the money's there and the content isn't super polarizing. But as of right now, I don't think my content would do well. It wouldn't make any money and just be a waste of time, to be totally honest, from an objective, like trying to stay neutral kind of standpoint here. So that's as far as I'll go as far as the Rumble thing there. But let me see. Dorian says you only drink when during your weekly updates, I think. Yes, it'd be fun to do a inebriated live stream, but I feel like I would just end up going off way too far in the deep end on the tangents, and probably would end up just oversharing, I guess is the word. So I will probably keep the drinking to the weekly updates there. And Two says I wouldn't. As far as wouldn't work for Matt, as far as the platforms there. Dorian says banned by 2 car forums in a week. Mini F56 and Miata forums are the worst. Interesting. You must have really made them mad if they banned you. That's pretty crazy. And let me see. Anthony says your Corolla was a bit of out of budget for me. Given I wanted a circuit edition, I ended up in a BRZ. Not sure how you can cross shop those cars. I mean, they're all really fun, affordable cars, and I think it's just fun in different ways. But it's a very similar type of fun. Just power delivery is different, and as far as driven wheels and stuff. But as far as just a fun, scrappy thing to throw around, I think they're both kind of a similar vibe, if that makes sense. Yeah, BRZ is great. So I mean, yeah, that is a very worthy car to own as well. And I still kind of wish I could find a way to justify a BRZ or a G86 as well. And Austin says I would watch Drunk Car History with Matt. Yeah, if it was something that I could edit ahead of time, that would probably be the safer way to do it for sure. Let me see other questions here. Greg says, speaking of China, I think the first kind of big seller will be the EX30. Yeah, it seems like there's a lot of hype for the EX30. I'm really excited about it. I just wish it had a gauge cluster. If it had a gauge cluster, it'd be borderline perfect, and actually like a car that I think Beth and I would even consider for maybe like a Mach-E replacement down the road. But I don't like having to look over into the center screen for my speed. I guess, all the Tesla people have learned to live with it. But like, didn't we learn this lesson 15 or 20 years ago whenever like the Scions had the speedometer in the middle, and the Yaris and the like few other weird cars that had it in the middle, the Echo, I think, and some others, like, and no one liked it. It didn't catch on. So why are we trying speedometers in the middle? Like, it does, and especially when it's at a screen that's further back, it's not even like it's up close towards the windshield or anything. Just like, I don't, especially from Volvo, a safety-minded company, why can't you see your speed unless you're staring down at a screen? It just is a weird, like contradiction for me for Volvo. I don't know, but that's the only thing. Otherwise, it's I'm really excited for the EX30 for sure. And Jordan says, what do you think about the OG M2 comparing to the Nissan Z? What would you enjoy more? The original M2? I don't know if you're talking, I guess you mean like the first generation of the M2. I love those. I mean, you can go back and watch my review from many years ago on it. I absolutely love the old M2. I think the old M2 was a great choice for people who needed a good sports car with a back seat, something that could actually daily drive, and wanted more power. I really liked the M2 as kind of like a step up from the BRZ and the FRS, of the time, where it has that same 2+2 kind of capability, has, great sports car, kind of livable, daily drivable thing, but it had, the extra power, of course, but the same kind of playful rear wheel drive driving dynamics, very safe feeling with the old M2 as well. And just, I felt really similar kind of impressions between that and the BRZ. Obviously, it's higher limits, faster, more capable than a BRZ, but a very similar, fun, like relaxed, not taking itself too seriously kind of vibe. I love the original M2, and I think these days so much focus is on the new one and on everything else BMW's been putting out. But I think that old M2 is a great used purchase if you still want a really solid sports car that holds up even in 2023 and is still just as much fun. I love the original M2. I think they're fantastic, and I don't think they've really gone crazy with their prices like the one. What is it? It's not. Is it called the 1M? The thing that came before it, whatever. I think it was called the 1M. Those have really kind of gotten crazy with the prices. I think the original M2 is still reasonable, so I would hop on one of those before those start taking off for the stars. I love the M2. And let me see here, other member questions. So Matt 2 says, Matt, do you watch or what sports other than automotive do you watch? Also, to start a fight, Jeremy Lin was overrated. Lin sanity, my butt. I don't know much about Jeremy Lin, so I can't weigh in on that. As far as other sports, I don't have time to watch sports, and not really interested in sports, to be honest. I like baseball. But the Pirates aren't super exciting here in Pittsburgh. So I would watch it if I had the free time to just like kick back and watch a game on TV. But my life hasn't been that way for a long time with that much free time. So yeah, haven't had a chance. But if I had more free time and my life wasn't so insanely busy all the time, I would love to actually get more into baseball, but just don't have the time. But that's the only one I would potentially really watch. I'm not in any of the other ones. MDKN says, I work at a Volvo dealer and that EX30 has got me worried as heck. If I'm curious if you're worried about like the powertrain or the tech or what, but yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts on it, MD. Trying Car Guy says the separate Speedo and the mid-2000s Civic for some reason. Okay, so Civic had it too. Yeah, and that was when the Civic was kind of quirky too, with having like the SI had the shifter that was like in the middle of the dash and stuff, which I've never driven, and it's probably been a decade since I've even seen one of those, but I would love to review one of those someday. So quirky. But MDK says it's the Swedish way. You can question, but you'll never find out why they make the choices they do. That's good to know. Joe says, what are your top 3 fave all-time songs? Man, that's a tough one. I'd have to like sit down and like pull up. I don't know. I mean, I'd say, I don't know. My musical taste probably isn't the most amazing. I'm all over the place with music. Shoot to Thrill has got to be up there pretty high. And Skyfall by Adele is probably really high up there as well. And then there's definitely a lot of classic songs. Like, I mean, I love a bunch of stuff from 40s, 50s, 60s, all that kind of stuff. So I don't know. Maybe Satisfaction by Rolling Stones potentially is another one that just like every single time I'm just like, just getting super into it. So maybe those, but I mean, there is so many. It's impossible to narrow it down to 3 for me, I think. But interesting question. Thanks for asking. And I'll have to pull up my library here sometime and like really like maybe think that one through a little more, because I've honestly never like tried to rank my favorite songs, I don't think. But yeah, let me see here. Other questions from members. Dorian says new M2 is kind of a Frankenstein weird, has no niche. I mean, it's a fun car, and I think the niche is if you like the Supra or the M4, but you want something smaller but still have a back seat. I think, like for me, having a daughter, like a Supra is like a non-starter. But if I wanted a manual and I wanted to have that, kind of powertrain and that kind of similar amount of power and stuff, M2 would be in the running for me. I'm not in love with the M2, and I'd probably just end up going for, a GR86 or a BRZ or something. But, if I wanted something bigger, more power, I like the M2. I think it's still a really impressive car. Austin says, "Hey Matt, do you think Ford will ever go back to sedans and or hatchbacks once the EV switch ever happens? I would rock an electric Fiesta ST. That'd be awesome." I I don't know. There's been rumors that maybe Ford will like bring back some type of car thing, but I think it's going to be a long time before. I don't think the EV switchover is going to really help things. I know some engineers and designers have said that aero is key, and so they're thinking that if you want to have the best aerodynamics and the best range, you got to go for a sleek, low shape. And so maybe you see sedans come back, hatchbacks maybe not so much. But I don't know. I mean, I'd love to see both, but I think Ford also is the type of company to dig their heels in, and when they make a decision, they think it's 100% the right for the rest of eternity, and don't ever question their best judgment. So I think if they've said no more cars, I'm inclined to believe that they're saying no more cars forever. Things will change and we will see what happens, but I think for at least the next decade, don't expect another car from Ford. And let me see. So MD Can says, to respond to that question, the price. We're already extremely booked with a small lot. Low price EVs seem to be a huge selling point. Gotcha. Okay, so you'll be very busy then. I mean, I guess that's probably good for the dealers, especially if there's going to be less and less of the sales component. Volvo is really saying how they're going to go away from, salesmen, I think, a little bit more, and having them just basically be like people standing there with an iPad being like, "Here, let's help you order," and that's basically it. So I mean, hopefully at least that helps the dealers out, I guess, having a super busy service department. Hopefully they add more techs and maybe expand the service centers to cope with that. But I know it's probably wishful thinking. So I'm sure things won't change and they'll try and cut corners like everybody else does. But hopefully it works out for you and it's not too bad. And Raphael says, "I don't think I could pick a favorite 3 songs. I just listen to too many songs." Yeah, same here. 2 says, "Matt's favorite singer is Rick Astley." Yeah. Man, I loved the whole Rick Roll thing. That was so much fun. Truck Car Guy says, "I could give you a top 5 bands. Harder for me to give a top 5 songs." Yeah. Definitely agree. Truck Car Guy also says, "What songs do you generally use to test stereos in the press cars, Matt?" Interesting question. In the press cars, I really like, I test a variety of music because obviously, there's some that might be better with one type of genre and not, another type. So, but to really, it, to me, the stuff I like listening to the most in the most epic stereos that I test, especially, I love listening to movie soundtracks, and not like the whole thing, but like, the Back to the Future theme, or, some of the James Bond, tracks, like the whole Casino Royale, like soundtrack, not just like the songs that were recorded and played, but the whole like soundtrack for Casino Royale is just like amazing to me. And even I love the soundtrack for No Time to Die because it was done by Hans Zimmer, who's like one of my favorite composers, and so that was like kind of like a match made in heaven for me. And so but so that kind of stuff, it's really dynamic, and it's very surround kind of focused with a bunch of different instruments all over the place, and they're usually very high end recordings. They're not overproduced like a lot of other stuff where it's just fake synth stuff. That kind of stuff is a little easier to reproduce, I think, in stereos, versus really like a strong, like this guy over here on the drums and this guy over here like on the bass or whatever. Like I think whenever you're doing that kind of stuff, it's like that's the impressive stuff when a car stereo can actually reproduce that stuff really well. So I think for me, movie soundtracks are really the thing I like using to test the most. But I also do have some bass heavy stuff. I do like a lot of rap music, for example. And so, some of that stuff where I know it's like old school stuff that really hits hard with just like banging a subwoofer, like there's that kind of stuff. I'm like, okay, well, let's test the subwoofer and put on some E40. And then I'm just, bump into that and, testing the subwoofers and that. And then I go back to the movie soundtracks. I go back to pop or whatever. And, I try and test it all if I can. So anyway, other questions here. Hunter says, "Hey Matt, just bought a brand new 2023 Jetta GLI Autobahn this past Friday. Definitely an underrated car. Drove from Pittsburgh to Maryland, DC area to get a deal under $3,000 under MSRP." Well, kudos to you for making the trip and going and getting a good deal for yourself. It's amazing the amount of people that are just like, "Oh, my dealer 5 minutes away doesn't have a deal. Guess I'm not buying the car." And it's like, go if I mean, these cars are worth the trip, go and go get them. So kudos to you. Seriously, I have so much respect that you went out and got your deal. And that's great. Don't pay these stupid prices at the local places. Get out there and find a deal. That's awesome. And congrats on the new Jetta GLI. They're awesome cars. I've always really enjoyed the ones I've spent a week with, and I hope it treats you well. And congrats on the new car. It's always fun getting a new car. So congrats to you. Austin says, "If I had to pick a top 3 driving songs, it would be Life is a Highway, I Can't Drive 55, and Born to Be Wild." There you go. Classics. And Dave says, "How about favorite driving song?" Jesus Built My Hot Rod is Dave's. So favorite driving song. Honestly, so whenever I'm in a hurry, it's actually fun. There's some really fast-paced stuff in the Casino Royale soundtrack. And so sometimes if I'm hustling, I'll put some of that stuff on, and it's just like fun instrumental stuff that kind of amps up and almost makes it feel like you're in a movie with having the theatrical soundtrack behind you. I'm probably sounding like a huge nerd right now, but as far as like actual driving songs, there was some really good music from why am I blanking on the movie? I have it up here on the shelf. Baby Driver. Baby Driver had a really good soundtrack that was great for driving to. So that's, I have a playlist of like those songs from that movie that I'll, put on sometimes too, but that's not something I listen to a ton, but I do like a lot of the stuff on there too. But I don't think I have a single favorite driving song. In the Bullets, again, me being a nerd, in the Bullet, so I have the Bullet soundtrack, and to me, this felt right. So the Bullet actually has a CD drive. I have the Bullet soundtrack on CD, and that is always in the CD drive. So just to have fun, anytime a dark colored Charger or Challenger pulls up behind me, I put on what's called Shifting Gears is the name of the song that plays leading up to the Bullet chase scene. So I'll put that on and try and do a little cat and mouse thing with a Charger or Challenger if I get the opportunity and have that playing. That's always a fun time whenever that happens. But aside from that, I don't have any go-to driving songs in particular, I don't think. MDKN says, "Oh Matt, I got some sub bumpers." Yeah, I love a good sub. I mean, I grew up in that era of everyone having huge subwoofers in their trunk. In my Legacy GT Spec B, I put what size sub was it? I don't think it was a 12. Maybe it was a 10-inch. Maybe it was a 12. I think it was a 12-inch sub, because I think it was going to go up to a 15, but that would have been too much. I think it was a 12-inch sub I had in the back of that with an amp, and just for bumping to some good rap, was just a blast. So I still love a sub, and even the Bullet has the shaker sound system has the one alcove of the trunk is filled with a sub, so I can still have that nostalgic fun of like, hey, look, I got like an Akon song coming on from 2007. Let me like crank up the sub and just pretend like I'm in my old Legacy again. It's it's kind of fun. Dorian says, "Volkswagen is still not sold the untouched Golf R manual with markup 11 weeks blue anniversary edition. Good, let it rot on a lot." I hate when dealers do that crap. So it's unfortunate for the manufacturer, because they're on the losing end of that. I mean, I guess the dealers are too, because they're paying the floor financing costs of having that car there, but they don't care because they're trying to get greedy and make their extra bucks. So yeah, it's annoying. I hope they all just sit until they get to MSRP. And Austin says, "Top Gun is my favorite soundtrack of all time." That is another fantastic soundtrack for sure. Raphael says, "I like both gas and electric cars. Both are good. I'm not ready to go electric yet because the ones I like are too expensive. I do love that Audi e-tron GT. Yeah, those are fantastic. And yeah, I think there's lots of fun stuff about both. They all have their own strengths and weaknesses, and it's all just a matter of preference." And Dorian says they're saying a $3,000 ADM now on the Golf R. Yeah, still too much. Trent Car Guy says his favorites I Stand Alone by Godsmack. There you go. A Silva says Bell Bottoms. Trent Car Guy says also got to listen to Eurobeat when I'm on a Spirited Drive. Yeah, that used to be my go-to thing was whenever I was going fast on a drive with buddies and stuff back in the day, I'd listen to BPM on Sirius XM, which is like the EDM station. And I do love EDM still, so there's a lot of that stuff that is great for driving, especially driving fast too. Totally with you there on that. Dave says, yeah, Baby Driver was a good underrated movie. Yeah, totally. Such a good movie. I'm glad someday, once all this crap is over with the strikes in Hollywood, I think they confirmed there's going to be a second one and they're working on it. So I'm very excited for a new Baby Driver. Greg says, gotta go. Thanks, Matt and friends. Thanks for joining in, Greg. We're doing okay here with my voice. I'm not going out here yet, so I'll try and keep going for another 50 minutes or so myself, but I hope you have a great night, Greg, and thanks for joining in. Ace says, Doobie Brother, the best of is a great driving album as well. I appreciate the recommendation. I'll have to go back and look at all these after the fact here and try and see if I can come up with any new music here, because I always enjoy checking out some new stuff. Austin says Infected Mushroom is my favorite EDM artist. I guess that's showing how out of the loop I am with EDM, because I've never heard of Infected Mushroom before, but I appreciate the recommendation there too. I'll have to check them out as well. And let me get back to some other questions here. So Ace of Spades also says Black Betty is a fun driving song on a mountain switchback road, or the Dragon. Definitely. Yeah, that's another good one. And Jordan says, I'm in Australia and I miss the Ford Falcons a lot. Basic car, but they drove great with the inline turbo 6 that was very easy to modify. Yeah, Falcons seemed really cool. I've never obviously driven one. Love to go to Australia. That's another place that's very highly ranked after Japan and the places I'd love to go someday. So yeah, I've heard great things about Australia. Ace says, are we starting to see any downward pressure on used car prices or still holding steady? I think it depends on the vehicle, but it seems like it seem like most of them are holding steady from the little bit I've seen. Although one vehicle that just for kicks the other day, even though I can't really ever justify a two-seater having my daughter because I always want to bring her along, but I've just checked for kicks the other day because many of you that might have been following the channel for a long time might be familiar with my love of the Jaguar F-Type. And I just happened to search on Auto Trader the other day, and F-Types have now gotten below $30,000, which puts them in the same, price range, actually a little cheaper technically than even a BRZ or a GR86. And that is very tempting in a lot of different ways. F-Type has still been like a dream. And I think it actually be a really good car for the channel, because I've heard that they're not super reliable, of course, being a Jag and a used Jag, and me breaking my own rule of, used European cars are a bad idea unless you have an extended warranty. But I have started to get a little bit tempted by an extended warranty F-Type. And if it breaks down, then it's more content for the channel. But I can't justify any extra cars, and I don't want it badly enough to swap the Bullet for it. But man, I'm like, I could actually kind of afford an F-Type now for the first time in my life. This is a very tempting thought. But yeah, so those have come down a little bit. We will see about the other stuff. I think most other stuff's, in the mainstream sector, at least, seems to be holding pretty steady. Let me see. So Joe says, love the chat. Chats about these topics. It's a vibe, lads. Thank you. I totally agree. Music really makes a moment. No disrespect, but no clue how some people don't really like music. Okay, top 3 rap. Man, I'm not good at ranking stuff. Top 3. I mean, I think I'd have to say my favorite rapper potentially is E40. But there's just been so many over the years that are just amazing that doesn't do credit to all the other amazing ones as well. So, but I'd say as far as I have probably the most rap music in my collection, because I'm still one of these crazy people that actually buys their songs, which I know either makes me seem really old or really bizarre, but I actually still like go on iTunes and like purchase each song that I want. I like having a collection of music and not just streaming, especially since I do so much flying. I know you can like pre-download songs on Spotify and stuff, but I've always been burned with streamers. Like it's like around Christmas time, I'll download Pandora and I'll like listen to Christmas music nonstop for that whole month and just stream exclusively for the entire month of December. But then if I'm on a press trip or something and I'm flying, I'm like, download this channel so I can listen to this while I'm on the plane. And I even sign up for the premium Pandora or whatever it takes. I'll be like, I just want to listen to this offline, and it never works. I'm sure that's just user error or something, but like I don't like streaming services still for music, so I actually buy stuff. But anyway, so I'd say as far as stuff that I own rap wise, E40 is probably my top one there. As far as I'd say one of the also, I mean, Busta Rhymes with him and Chris Brown with "Look at Me Now." I mean, I think that was probably the most legendary rap sequence, whatever you call it. Just like I don't know how he could do that. That was just like wild. So yeah, but other than that, I mean, there's just obviously so many other good ones. I'd have to like really like scroll through my collection and really sit down and think about it. But yeah, I'd say E40 is probably one of the top ones that pops into my brain as far as rappers in general. But let me see. MD Can says, can guarantee he hasn't heard of Illenium. Yeah, definitely have not. Austin says, I haven't heard of them either. So you should check them out as well. Cool. Dave says, around here, some new cars are finally advertised under MSRP. Yes, it's very refreshing to see. There is more and more of that. Some hybrid stuff seems like the hybrid stuff's still really hot. So I've been seeing some of that still either marked up or at MSRP, but it seems like, yeah, some deals are finally starting to come back, which is great. Mike says, I've watched both videos, but how does something like a Jetta GLI handle versus a Civic Sport Touring? Civic SI is a no because of my commute. So you're looking for automatics that I'm assuming, Mike. So it's between the two of them, I will say the Honda does the better driver inputs. So steering is better in the Honda, throttle response is better in the Honda, brakes feel better in the Honda, and just the ride quality is more controlled and more refined. So for all those things, I think the Honda does those better. The Jetta GLI, obviously has more power. It feels a lot faster. I mean, the torque, it's what, 258 pound-feet of torque versus what do you get in the Civic? It's like, what, 187 or something? I mean, it's no contest. The GLI feels way faster. It's way sportier. And, if you get it with the adaptive dampers, then that certainly gives you a little bit of extra composure as well. So, and also with the Jetta GLI, you're also getting a real dual clutch automatic versus getting the CVT still in the Sport Touring. So between the two of them, if I'm going for the automatic versions of them and I'm, wanting the best all-arounder, the only thing is like the interior is nicer in the Civic, in my opinion. The Civic doesn't have as many features. Like you don't get the cooled seats you get in the GLI and, one or two other things. But I think between those two, I would go Jetta GLI myself. Yeah. And I think it depends on what you're looking for, but the Jetta GLI even offers a lot more stuff than the Civic SI does. And as far as, offering cooled seats, offering leather these days, offering a moonroof, offering, the automatic and a good automatic at that with the, the Volkswagen. Although I will say I haven't driven an automatic GLI in a little while, but if it's the same as the automatic in the Golf R, I mean, then maybe they've tuned it down so that it's going to try and hypermile and you'll have to either race around in sport mode all the time or paddle shift everywhere you go. So I would test drive a GLI first before you decide on it yourself. But if the transmission tuning isn't horrible anymore, then I would go Jetta GLI probably. So hopefully that helps you, Mike. And sorry for the long-winded answer there. And MD Can says he's awesome. Flew to Colorado to see his biggest show and was not disappointed. Makes some heavy songs, vibey songs, and some nasty sub bumpers. Cool. I'll have to check that out. Thanks for the recommendation. Raphael says, Matt, what do you think overall of the Lexus RX line? I love the RX. I just spent recently a week with the 350H. Really like that. Enjoyed the 500H as well. And I've driven all of them on the launch event last year, and they're all great. They all, have different goals, and I think the whole line is really well done. I think they did a great job with them. They have some really good features in them that, are really top notch. Having heated and cooled second row seats in that thing is crazy. Like very few companies offer that. And there's just a lot of really good stuff there in the RX. So I think the RX is great. And then you have, again, Lexus reliability. I think the RX is a really solid pick these days. Dave says, I'm looking at a 300C for 2 grand under. That would be a nice family car, but still a V8. That's an awesome deal because a lot of other people are like, oh, they're charging markups on them. I'm not buying them. So if you can find one for a discount, yeah, especially that being a collectible car, since it's a 1 year thing, it's almost done. And that's the end of an era. I think, yeah, getting one of those, if you can get it at a discount and you want one, definitely, I would go for that for sure. 300C is so much fun. And yeah, I think that'd be a solid pickup. Austin says Hypnotize and California Love are absolute bangers. Yeah, definitely. Joe says premium Christmas Pandora Pro. I'm glad I'm cracking you up, Joe. Yeah, this is the personal side of Matt that's bizarre and hilarious. E40, that's an interesting choice. Definitely some really good songs. You should absolutely get that F-Type. Yeah, it'd be a fun thing if I don't even have the garage space. Definitely don't have the money and don't have the time. I don't even drive the Bullet enough. So just make all of my issues worse if I had an F-Type. But it's nice to dream. Maybe someday I will get one and have some kind of position in life where I can justify it. Adam said, totally agree on Look at Me Now. To this day, every time anyone says, let's go, I immediately say, because I'm running, I feel like I got to get away. Yeah, that's so good. Like superhuman levels of talking there with Busta Rhymes. It's just like insane. So Dennis says, Highlander hybrid versus Grand Highlander hybrid preference. If you need the extra space, Grand Highlander is a great choice. If you want some extra money to save, Highlander is still totally fine. I will say though, I mean, it's been probably a couple of years now since I've been in the regular Highlander, so I don't have a super fresh impression. But Grand Highlander is so smooth, and it is just like for a family car, they nailed it. They absolutely 10 out of 10 nailed it. Like you couldn't do better. If I couldn't recommend any improvements for the Grand Highlander as far as the ride and for what that actual buyer wants, which is a comfortable thing to shuttle people around in. I think it's one of the best, if not the best in the segment, especially the hybrid what no one else offers. You get actually good fuel economy, plenty of power still, especially again for that demographic and that buyer. I think Grand Highlander, obviously these days you're going to be probably not getting as good of a deal versus a regular Highlander. So there's some considerations there, but if you don't mind spending the extra money, totally go for the Grand Highlander. Because, if you're going for a vehicle that large, having the extra space is probably not a bad thing. And it's just miles better than I think everything else in that segment. I love the Grand Highlander. Cam Jam says, hi Matt, going to look at some cars tomorrow. 2021 Acura ILX and a Sonata SEL Plus, both 22 grand. Thoughts? So Sonata, I'm guessing you're talking about the most recent generation, potentially. Sonata's a great car. I always really liked them. They drove really good. I don't think it's the best driving in its segment. But I think they're really solid. I like them a lot. As far as the ILX, I've never driven an ILX. I tried so hard to get one as a press vehicle all the years that it was available, for brand new, and I've yet to drive an ILX. They always sounded so promising. It sounded like the automatic SI that everyone wanted. It was the SI motor with a dual clutch automatic, and luxury. I don't know. I feel like the ILX is a car that should have done really well, and for some bizarre reason, it didn't. I don't know. Maybe it's just crap, and I just don't know. I mean, because the last ILX I drove was the very first year, the very first generation, which was very underpowered and very unimpressive. But they really juiced it up in the years following, and so I really want to drive a new ILX. I don't know how many people would actually be interested in on the channel here, but that is what I've been very personally interested in. Civic Si motor with a dual clutch and Acura stuff. I don't know. To me, sign me up for that. That sounds great. I don't know, but obviously you're going to have a lot more space in the Sonata, and obviously it's just going to be not probably as sharp as the ILX. Just guessing here, but I'm sure both are probably great picks. It just comes down to personal preference there. But I wish I had a better answer. I just never driven a new ILX, so I can't really weigh in on that. Dave says, which Gen 86 do you like for the styling? Honestly, I like the new one the best. I think they did a great job with upgrading the styling and improving it. And honestly, I was with the last generation, I really was partial to the BRZ. I actually didn't like the way the FRS looked really with the way they did the front bumpers. And over the years, as it transitioned to the Toyota 86 instead, and the GT 86 or whatever, they kind of got even weirder with the front bumper. And I don't know, I was never into the Toyota side of the twin setup there for that first gen. But for the second gen, I think I'm actually kind of like it's a tie to me. I think both the GR86 and the new BRZ look great in their own ways. I think they nicely differentiated them, and I don't think I even have a favorite between the two now. But definitely, if you're talking only the Toyota version, first or second gen, totally the second gen for sure for me. Austin says, "Hey Matt, how long, in your opinion, until we see full self-driving vehicles negating the need for manual intervention? I think that will be a sad day. It'll definitely be a sad day. It'll be." Oh man, yeah, that'll be a horrible day. But I think, thankfully, I think that day is a long way away. Just because, I mean, I'm sure many of you have heard a lot of these reasons before, but it's just the fact that not only like obviously we're failing horribly with full self-driving things with Tesla and some others. I mean, Super Cruise is fantastic, and we'll see what Ultra Cruise does. I think that's the closest you're going to get to autonomous stuff for a while, because first off, the average car on the road right now is 12 years old. 12 years. So even if today we had a car that was affordable for everyone, like if everyone could afford a self-driving car today, it'd be 12 years before even that's mainstream. So we're already talking about 2035. And then, obviously that's not happening today. That's not happening tomorrow. That's not happening 5 years from now before, I mean, Ultra Cruise is going to be in the Celestiq, which is $300,000. And look at how long it's taken even Super Cruise to trickle down to the average stuff within GM. So take that same timeline now. What is it? When did the first ET6 come out, Super Cruise? That was like 2017, maybe. So we're talking 6 years. So if Celestiq, maybe by the end of this year or next year's Ultra Cruise, then you add 6 years of that, you're talking 2030 before even Ultra Cruise is potentially mainstream. And that's not even full self-driving yet. I mean, that's 95% or whatever, but it's not even fully no manual intervention like you're talking about here. So we're talking way far out before it's even like a realistic thing for rich people. And then you're talking about, okay, now let's bring it down so that the average Chevy Bolt has Ultra Cruise. Even that, we're talking over 10 years away most likely. And then bring all that stuff down to an affordable price point, and then having it age 12 years, so the average car, and then even at that 12-year point, some time off in the 2050s or whatever it ends up being, even at that point, you're still going to have idiots like me driving around in the Bullet and stuff, and then those computers are still going to have to intervene and compensate for those unpredictable human drivers, which is one of the toughest parts about autonomous cars. Is if every car was autonomous, it'd be fine. I mean, look at the autonomous trams and the autonomous other things. If you're in a closed system where all the variables are controlled, autonomous stuff is already happening. I take an autonomous tram going back and forth, from one part of the airport to the other here in Pittsburgh. I mean, so I've ridden in autonomous vehicles. But as far as cars and the weather components, sunlight components, just the crazy psychos on the road, animals. I mean, there's just so many different variables. And then there's the legal component of, okay, we've got all the tech, and okay, we've made it so that every person can buy it for $1, this technology. Even if you get to that point, then you also have the legal issues of now who's going to pay if this crashes and this fails, and who's going to be responsible if this kills somebody, either the driver or some pedestrian or something. No one wants to take legal blame. And so I think even if all the technical stuff lines up and all the money stuff lines up, which is already two very far-fetched ideas that those things will ever happen, but if those things do happen, then who's going to be the person to pay the bill when things go wrong? Because things will still go wrong. Who's going to pick up that tab? It's not going to be the car companies. They don't want to deal with that. It's not going to be the owner of the vehicle, because they're going to say, well, I wasn't in control. So I think you're always going to have the legal disclaimer, and you're always going to have the steering wheel there, because in the event of this failure, you are responsible. They're always going to put the responsibility on the driver, because that's the easiest thing to pass the buck to. And so you will always have everything that's 99.9% autonomous, but we're always going to have a steering wheel, because you're always going to have to take over at the last minute. And of course, no one's going to be prepared in that distant, far off future, but you're going to have to pretend like you're prepared to take over at any minute, because that's just going to be the only way they can legally absolve themselves. And they're never, ever going to want to, and no one else is going to want to take that responsibility. So I think for those myriad of reasons, and that one being the biggest, the money and who's responsible when things go wrong, I think for those reasons, I don't think we'll see autonomous cars in our lifetime, honestly. And if we do, it's going to be in a drastically different world where, again, we're in a closed loop system or something. But I don't see that happening. Humans want freedom. They want to have control. And even if, things are insanely impressive and cars are flying or whatever, I still feel like people want that control, or, just I think there's too many things that are just going to hold it up. And I think that all those things will prevent it. Even if one or two things work out, the other things won't. It's a fun marketing thing. It's going to be a fun thing for the rich. I'm sure there'll be, Ultra Cruise again, and some of these other things that'll have, digital chauffeurs or something. But I don't see it ever going mainstream, or even, again, being a thing that legally can happen 100%. So sorry, long tangent there, but that's my thoughts on autonomous cars. I don't think we have anything to worry about for a long time, if ever. Again, beyond any of our lifetimes, even if you're a teenager, I don't think you have to worry about it, because I don't see it happening. So Joe says, I'd love to see your accountant's reaction going through transactions in every year without fail. One-time charge December 1st for premium Pandora. I guess it's a poor investment. I don't know. I mean, if there's other better streamers for Christmas music, let me know. It's just like, I made my Pandora station back whenever that was like super popular 15 years ago or whatever, and have like all my favorites saved for Christmas music in there, and it knows all my quirky Christmas favorites and all of the mainstream stuff that I like and don't like and stuff. So it's just like I've invested too much time and all the thumbs up and thumbs downs on Pandora to like go away from that for Christmas music, and it's just 1 month, so I live with it. But I'm glad you got a kick out of it, Joe. Dave says, I actually like the previous Gen 86 first impression without knowing what it was. I thought it looked like a mini Ferrari. The back end, totally, with those taillights, I agree, which are shared with the BRZ, but it's just the front end always was a little iffy to me. But everyone likes something different, so totally can respect that. And Dave also says, when cars get too boring, I'll just go back to mountain biking. There you go. Cam Jam says, also looking at an Accord 2.0T, sport, but it's $5,000 more. Do you think it would be worth it over the Sonata? So if the sport's an automatic, the thing about those is they love roasting the tires. It's way faster than the Sonata, unless you're looking at a Sonata GT line, which you said it's, I think, an SEL. So it's just it's more fun, but you gotta make sure you have more budget for front tires, because you'll be roasting them a lot faster. And if you live in a place with bad weather, it's going to be a little dicier because it's just going to want to spin more. So that's the only thing I'll say. But I would say, I don't know, about $5,000 more. I would say it's worth paying a premium for an Accord, especially if you value the power. You get the extra power there that you're not getting in the Sonata. That could put it over. But as far as if we're just talking engines aside, Accord versus Sonata, I do like the Accord better. But I don't know about $5,000 better. I'd say I would pay a couple grand premium for an Accord, but I don't know about $5,000. Maybe if you can close that gap a little bit in your negotiations, maybe that could, tip the scales one way or another, especially, again, if you'd appreciate the extra power and you don't care about, the extra wheel spin and stuff, then I'd probably lean towards the Accord with all three of those cars being out there. I think that's the new, or that past gen Accord just drove so well. They're just such good cars. I still love the way those drove. The handling was just hands down the best. It was so good. Raphael says, the problem with full self-driving is having people on the road that don't have self-driving. Exactly. Yeah, I can look at someone and know they're about to do something dumb, harder for a computer. Absolutely. Yeah, it's so funny how you can like read how people, like, I can tell, like, okay, that person, they want to come over. They don't have their turn signal on, but I know they're looking about coming over. They're trying to figure it out. Whether it's them, weaving in the lane a little bit, or just generally being sketchy. It's like, okay, I got to be on the lookout for that person. And hopefully, with artificial intelligence or whatever, they'll figure that stuff out. But then again, who's paying the bill when it fails? I think that's going to be the holdup. Steve says, if you like the seat comfort in the Accord 2.0T, go for that. The 10-speed is excellent, and the sound and the engine is underrated on power. Should theoretically last a long time. Yeah, they're fantastic. 10-speed is great. I love the Accord. So thanks for chiming in there, Steve. Mike says, do you see an Elantra N eventually going away from the extreme bargain option and possibly adding all-wheel drive as an option in the future? Maybe if other competitors do. If you see, Honda Civic go all-wheel drive, or if you see more stuff pop up like the GR Corolla, maybe. But I think Elantra N, I don't know. I mean, we'll see again how everything goes with all the goals of electrification and stuff. But I'm inclined to think that this is the last generation of the Elantra N here, and we won't get a new one with a gas engine. They already phased it out with the Kona, and it seems like that's not coming back. So it's kind of a gift. We're still getting the Elantra N, honestly, I think. And, I think if you want a sedan N with all-wheel drive, then just wait for the Ioniq 6N. I'm sure, again, it's electric, so it might not be up the same alley as the Elantra, and also double the price of an Elantra N, basically, most likely. But, I think that's kind of going to be the future of N, especially all-wheel drive and stuff, if that's what you're looking for. But I think hopefully they'll keep the bargain component with the Elantra. Even if it's an electric Elantra, just do something that doesn't have 600 horsepower, because you can still have a fun electric car without 600 horsepower. So I'd love to see an electric N Elantra with 300 horsepower. Front wheel drive, I think that could still be a really fun vehicle in the future if they have to get rid of the gas engine. Obviously, I want them to keep the gas engine around forever. And the Elantra N, it's a fantastic motor, but I'm a realist, and I know that's unrealistic to hope for. So, I think that hopefully they focus on the bargain EV fun stuff as well. I think the Elantra N could be a great, gateway for people. And maybe if, again, it's electric and it's easier to add a rear motor, then you put one in there, and then you have an electric WRX competitor, basically, for, since Subaru's not going to do that until at least 2028, it seems. Maybe Hyundai could beat them to the punch or something. We'll see. But yeah, I think they'll hopefully keep the Elantra a bargain. They're also limited by the Elantra name. You can't make a vehicle called the Elantra that expensive, I don't think. So they kind of got their hands tied there with that. So I think for that reason alone, it'll stay relatively affordable, even for the N version. But Tron Car Guy says, having driven very large trucks before you learn to predict idiot drivers, and to be honest, I still would rather deal with idiot drivers than some computers on wheels. Yeah, I mean, the only thing I'll say about the computers on wheels is if they are tuned to be super safe and conservative, I think it'd actually be an improvement from a sanity standpoint. If it's just all the people who don't want to drive anyway, they just want to sit there and stare at their phone, I would rather have them stare at their phone in the right lane, doing the speed limit with a computer, keeping a way safe following distance, and just minding its own business in the right lane. And if people want to choose that and have like an autonomous lane, that could be getting back to, if you want to segment stuff, if again, you have a closed system where it's easier to predict, maybe that's a solution, is you have like an HOV lane for just autonomous cars, only autonomous cars in that lane. And, it's very sealed off so that at least in those zones, you can be hands-free totally, in your own world or whatever, put those cars in their own lane, let them all do 55 while they all scroll on TikTok. Sounds good. And then the rest of us that actually want to pay attention and drive and have a good time, we have less traffic on the roads. I think that would be a huge improvement. So I think if that is the way it goes, is HOV lanes for autonomous stuff, I think that could potentially work. But again, I still don't think it'd be 100% of the time. But if we want to automate the driving a little bit more for more people, put them in their own lane that's sealed off from everybody else, and then, have at it. And then the rest of us can actually enjoy ourselves and not have to, just be dodging idiots all the time. But let me see. So Joe says, tell me that's not number one in regards to Jordan. So Jordan says these Accords do drive really nice. Nearly bought one, but they're 40,000 USD here in Australia. We only get the top trim hybrid and then the 1.5 of the CVT, no 2.0. That's a bummer. And I mean, Accords have definitely gone up in price a little bit. They've done a good job here in the States of keeping them pretty affordable, but they are, like everything's been going up here for sure. me see. Raphael says that's actually a really good idea. I didn't think of a lane for autonomous that could work. Yeah, it's just again getting out of the lane. Then you have a bunch of inattentive people that are snoozing or just completely checked out. That then all of a sudden have to be like, oh wait, I gotta remember how to drive again. But if there's a way to have them have their own exits and stuff, then it potentially could work. It's just again, you still have the around town stuff, and even like Ultra Cruise. They're saying, it's probably not going to be door to door. It'll be 95% door to door with Ultra Cruise, but it'll be, you still got to do a little bit of the maneuvering. You still have to, take over every once in a while. But yeah, maybe the HOV lane kind of thing will be the way they'll do it. We'll see. Cam Jams is concerned about Hyundai's reliability, planning to keep this car for probably 15 years. So, I mean, as far as 15 years, if that's your concern, I'd probably go the ILX because I mean the Accord could last you 15 years too potentially, but it's turbocharged and direct injected, which doesn't mean it's going to be terrible, but you could have some carbon buildup eventually in the direct injected Accord motor. Although I've seen some higher mileage ones that seem to be okay, but regardless, if you want the most safe long-term longevity thing, get a naturally aspirated engine that's not very strained. And I think the ILX is that. So if it was one of those three and you were worried and you wanted to keep it 15 years and that was one of your top things is not worrying about reliability, I'd say ILX easy. Sonata could make it, but I don't have as much confidence in the Hyundai reliability as I do in Honda and Toyota. I don't. Honda and Toyota are still the kings. If you want to keep a car 15 years, I wouldn't even consider anything outside of a Toyota or Honda, to be totally honest. Potentially, I mean, I'd say, there's some outliers like the Mustang V8 is very reliable. I can see my Bullet motor lasting, beyond 15 years, especially with how little I drive it. But, even with 15 years of daily driving, I think some motors from Ford and some others have been proven to be pretty reliable. But I'd say if you want the safest bet, you got to go Toyota or Honda, and particularly naturally aspirated Toyotas or Hondas. And let me see here. So Joe says, no, you missed my question. Check it out. LMAO, I meant Mariah Carey's song is #1 Christmas song. Oh, yeah, no, that is not it. That's one that's, I don't hate it as much as most people probably do. But after a few plays of All I Want for Christmas, I've had my fill of that one for sure. So sorry, I missed your question there. And let me see. So Austin says, I didn't know if they're self-driving or not, but I feel like Teslas are worse than BMW drivers these days. They're always doing unpredictable things. Yeah, definitely not self-driving. Nothing is even remotely close to self-driving yet. It's just unfortunate that Tesla straight up lies by calling it the full self-driving capability or whatever. Maybe someday it won't be a lie and it will actually be full self-driving. I don't think it's ever going to happen for them with that current tech that they're claiming it will. So yes, Tesla drivers are known to be pretty bad because they either rely on the tech too much or they've been oversold because the company told them it's better than it actually is. And that's why you see all these tragedies with Teslas crashing left and right that are all on autopilot. Also, kind of a misnomer there. Yeah, they're not great as far as self-driving. I'm not impressed with that system at the times that I've tried it out. Raphael says, I'm past my bedtime, so I have called a night. Have a good week. Thanks for joining in, Raphael. I appreciate it. Thanks for staying up past your bedtime there, for hanging out in the live stream here. And yeah, we got about 19 more minutes here to go, and then I'll be signing off as well. Let me see. So Brianna says she hasn't noticed any reckless Tesla drivers. Count yourself lucky. But I guess it maybe got a little safer whenever they finally recalled the assertive mode that they had, where it was rolling through stop signs and tailgating people, and the car actually was doing that on its own. It's like insane. But anyway, yeah, so count yourself lucky, Brianna. But let me see. So Trent Gargas says not just Tesla drivers. Yeah, definitely. There's lots of bad drivers out there for sure. Goth Rocker, thanks for joining in. He says, missed most of this stream. Hope you're feeling better. I test drove the WRX with the performance transmission CVT. It is really good. They have a magic about them. I do want the Mazda 6 all-wheel drive. See, I've heard from some people that it's not as bad as it sounds. I want to try it. I want to go into it with an open mind and just see what happens. I can't get my hands on a WRX GT. There's been some in the press fleets, I think, but I've never had a chance to get into it for whatever reason. And I just know that that CVT that Subaru has paired up with the other turbo stuff that I've driven in the Outback XT and the Ascent. And what else have I driven? The Legacy XT. It's just like they don't tune it. It's a mismatch where it's just like you put your foot down. It's like there's like a balloon under the gas pedal, and you press that, and then it's like, whoa, okay. So now, like all of a sudden, like revs kick up because it's a CVT, and they still a slushy CVT. And then it kicks up to a high enough point where then the turbo kicks in. So it's like, whoa, whoa. And then it goes, and it's this very like mismatched thing. And maybe the GT WRX, they spared it that somehow, and it actually did good tuning for the first time in a Subaru. I don't know, but I'm not a fan of this CVT turbo combo from Subaru with everything else. It's just not very well done. One of the worst standout pairings of a transmission and an engine in my experience. Let me see though. Other questions here. So Adam says, I feel bad for all the people who got swindled into shelling out 15 grand to Tesla for full self-driving, which does nothing of the sort. My cousin didn't consult me and got it thinking it would drive her to work. Man, see, and that's the thing that sucks is the people who aren't car people that like they shouldn't be expected to know this. Like, you know, we're car people, like we know this stuff. We know it's BS from a mile away, but like there's actual nice people that are getting swindled and are getting taken advantage of because it's actually named the wrong thing. I hope that the lawsuits against all this faulty naming stuff actually goes through and actually makes a dent and makes them switch that crap, because I hate people getting taken advantage of, and that just makes my blood boil, especially when it's 15 grand. We're not talking about, you know, a few grand here. You know, we're talking about something very expensive, and that sucks. And so, yeah, it's dangerous. It's misleading. It's you know, predatory, honestly, as far as, you know, telling people it's something that it's not and keep giving this the carrot being dangled in front of the horse, like, oh, you'll get it someday. And it's like, no, you're never going to get it. Anyway, I'll move off that. So Triton Car Guy says most people who drive some sort of premium vehicle drive like they own the road. There's definitely some entitlement, it seems, and there's also people that don't drive expensive stuff that just drive crazy because they just don't care or whatever. I don't know. You know, they have better things to worry about, I guess. Austin says, Brianna, they are a menace here in California. So I see Brian asking, so Racing for the Sun's asking, why are some names green? They're members, so they get the priority answering. That's the people that joins. There's join buttons here on the video page and on the channel page there. And they're the people that are supporting every month the channel, and so they get that priority answering there. Let me see. So Goth Parker says, I agree, they seem to have fixed it as far as, I guess you're talking about the crazy driving on autopilot, hopefully. Racing for the Sun says, I guess he only answers paid questions. I try and answer as many non-member questions as well that I can. It's just I try and give those ones priority. But then towards the end here, sometimes I do end up having a little bit of extra time, and I can go back and answer some non-member questions. I just can't make the non-member ones a priority there because, again, all the members are very generous with their support, and I want to value their contributions there. And Dave says, what's your favorite 70s car? 70s is a tough decade for cars. Favorite from the 70s. And that's probably one of the only decades that I don't have a favorite from, I don't think. I mean, I guess early 70s stuff is still pretty cool. But I don't know if I have a favorite. I don't know. Yeah, I can't tell you a favorite car from the 70s. I can't think of anything that's like a standout, like best thing ever. There could be something and I'm just not thinking of it, but all the stuff that I'm like scrolling through in my head, those in the 70s, none of it I would say is like my favorite car of the decade. So yeah, I will give that one more thought, but thank you for the question. Sorry, I don't have a better answer. Adam says, just saw a BMW sitting inside a single parking space. I had no idea they even fit. That's a good one, Adam. Yeah, that's another thing is parking and the entitlement of parking. I saw there was a really funny Instagram post that I saw the other day where it was like, I think it was like a Corvette or something that had parked in two spaces, and someone took chalk and just on the ground, they like circled around the car with chalk and said, "Look, I'm special," and chalk to the guy who double parked. And like the meme is like, man, I gotta start carrying chalk around with me. And it's like that is like a really fun way to make a point without touching anything or harming anything. But it was just like, wow, the creativity to use chalk. I never thought of that. And it's just so funny. And just a really good idea. Use chalk. I think that's a really good thing if you want to make a point in a parking lot. Trend Car Guy says delays with the Maverick could be due to the worker strike, complications with the hybrid system, or any number of things behind the scenes. So let me see. I guess I'm going back to Racing for the Sun's talking about here. So why is the Maverick hybrid taking so long to build? My mom had one on order for over a year. They're taking forever. I know there's another journalist who also has an order in for a Maverick hybrid, and she's, I think, just going to be getting hers here pretty soon, but she's been waiting, I think, over a year too. The Maverick is the same problem as like the Mach-E. There was a huge backlog of people wanting those. Same with the Bronco. There's way more demand than they have, the capacity to build. I don't think Maverick's a target of the strikes currently, if I remember correctly. So I don't think it's a strike thing. I think it's probably just, again, they're just taking forever with filling orders. And it's also Ford's weird. I learned this with the Mach-E. We placed our order. Ford also picks and chooses. It's not a get in line and then you have your spot in line. I thought that's the way it worked, or the way it should work is first come, first served, but that's not the way it works. They cherry pick who they want to build first. And like there was like with the Mach-E order that we did, we placed the order in October. We didn't get the car till August of the next year. And meantime, I'm on the forums, like pulling my hair out, like because there's a whole complicated thing. But the lease was up on Beth's Mercedes in April of that year, and we were like struggling to figure out, like, is it going to be ready by April? Do we need to bail on the order and get something else, or find another Mach-E on a lot? It was a whole thing. But anyway, so I was watching on the forums as there was people that would waltz in and order a GT performance package, and they'd have it like 4 weeks later. And I'm like, it's been 4 months and I haven't even heard anything from Ford. And like these people just casually walk in like, oh yeah, it wasn't a bad wait. I just walked in, placed an order one day and got it, a few weeks later. It's like, yeah, well, good for you. But like, that's because you spent 70 grand on a Mach-E, and, me trying to get my order filled for my $50,000 small battery Mach-E, low profit margin for Ford. I got bumped to the back of the line over and over and over again until they finally like, okay, fine, I guess it's been long enough, let's build Matt's Mach-E. And it was just like, you're not the priority sometimes. So if you're, I don't know, you said it's a Maverick hybrid, the hybrid components give it extra complexity for them because of the battery thing, even though it's not a big battery, but that's the one everyone wants, is the hybrid. But if you waltzed in and ordered a fully loaded Maverick Lariat with the turbo motor and stuff, you probably would have had it months ago, but it's just the in-demand one that actually everyone wants, that's also more affordable, which is also, big turn off for the car companies because they don't want to build the affordable stuff. It's just, you're going to be bumped to the back of the list over and over and over again. So if you can wait, great. If you're getting impatient or something, try and hunt one down. There might be a decent dealer that's selling one that's sticker. If you're willing to travel and, go out of your normal search radius, go out of state, go, other side of the country, whatever you need to do. If you're fed up of waiting and you really want the vehicle, it's worth a road trip to get the car you want. So that's the only advice I can give there. But I know it's frustrating. Trust me, I was so annoyed with Ford, and I did a whole video on it about why getting the Mach-E was a huge headache, I think is how I titled it. But if you look back on the Mach-E videos, I have a playlist of them. I go into all my frustrations with the Ford ordering system. It's not good. And it's also not fair, I will add. But anyway, other questions here. So Austin says, yeah, 70s was the malaise era. So yeah, it was definitely made it tougher there. So other people are chiming in. Dennis says Starsky and Hutch Gran Torino. Yeah, that's the Gran Torino is a top one. 71 CUDA, Mikey says that's another good one for sure. And also, sorry, Adam, I missed it. You were gifted 5 memberships there. Thank you so much for the generosity, and I'm sure everyone there that snatched those memberships up really appreciates it as well. And yeah, that's why it's always good to have that gifting acceptance on, or whatever, on your account settings, so you can accept those gifts if they pop up there. But thanks so much, Adam, for gifting those. I really appreciate it. And Goth Rocker says Ford is recalling 700,000 vehicles with a 3-liter V6 EcoBoost and the 2.7 EcoBoost. That is why when I bought my Continental, I knew to get the V6, the 3.7-liter V6 with the Subaru on the WRX. They fixed the CVT issue, it seems. So that's great to hear they fixed it. And yeah, Continental, getting the naturally aspirated tried and true V6 is definitely the smartest choice from a long-term standpoint, even though it's less power, less efficiency. Just can't go wrong with that old tech as far as reliability goes. Brian says, what's your favorite 50s and 60s cars? Well, this is an easier one for me. So 68 Mustang Fastback is definitely one of my favorites, the car from Bullitt. There's lots of cool stuff, though, 60s wise. All the muscle car stuff around that time is just fantastic. But I think for me, it's the Mustangs of the 60s. They're all of them, whether it's the first year is so iconic, all the way up, right through to 1970 were all fantastic there. As far as other stuff like 50s, I love all the 50s cars. I mean, it's easier for me to pick 50s cars I don't like than ones I do like. They're all just fantastic, whether you're talking like a 58 Pontiac Bonneville with like the stars and like the afterburner taillights. I love the 59 Fords with their giant like afterburner taillights that they had, were so cool. The Mercury Turnpike Cruiser that had the sliding rear window that went down, so it could have like a breezeway like that went through, and just so many innovative, creative things. Swiveling seats were, back then, I mean, just so much creativity. 57 Chevys, an all-time classic, of course, that I just love. I love the Studebakers of the early 50s that had like the submarine rear window, where like some people were legitimately confused back then if the car was going forwards or backwards, or if it was like parked, which one was the front, because it had this like rounded rear window that looked like a windshield almost, and it was just like this submarine looking at this like bullet nose in the front of them. It was so cool. Just so many cool cars. Like, so many people don't even know that like the 49 Fords like kind of saved Ford. Like, Ford was really not in a good place in the end of the 40s there, and like that 1949 Ford was a giant hit. No one, especially no one in my generation, really even knows about a 49 Ford or cares, or has ever even seen one probably. But like, that car actually saved Ford at that point in time, and like doesn't get any credit. Like, no one really like cares. That story's kind of been lost to history. So there's just so many just amazing cars from the 50s. Again, just like everything. I just love everything from the 50s. So that'd be probably one of my biggest chunks of my collection. If I ever did win the lottery or something, I'd buy like so many 50s cars just because they're all just so cool, and they're just all fun to look at. Even if you don't drive them, they're just like so futuristic in their own way, and just so cool. And Fook, thank you so much for gifting 5 memberships as well there. It's man, everyone's getting lucky here with all the gifting tonight. Everyone's so generous. So thank you so much, Fook, for the memberships there, and congrats to everyone there that was able to snatch those up. And coming up on the last few minutes here, so I'm going to get the last couple of member questions here before we go. Let me see. So Trenton, I didn't have it on. I didn't even know that was a thing. Just happy to see if people are able to support it, or support Matt. Yeah. So I think, I don't even know how to turn it on, but there's a way to turn on gifting to accept those memberships there. And Fuchs says, it's my time to give it forward. Thanks to everyone who's ever donated my past memberships. That's awesome, and awesome for paying it forward there. That's so cool. And thanks again, Fuchs. I really appreciate it. And Steve says 58 Buick Roadmaster, the absolute tons of chrome. Love it. Yeah, the 50s Buicks were another one, and were just so over the top. Yeah, I agree. Awesome cars. Let me see. So Trenton says, what do you think is the best sporty all-wheel drive automatic car? Do you think that GR Corolla or Civic Type R will ever get a good automatic? There was rumors, and I think it was legit, that there was at least spotted a GR Corolla with an automatic that was testing. And I haven't heard anything about it. It's probably been at least a year since I last heard about that. Um, so, but there's a potential that maybe there will be an automatic GR Corolla someday. I have no clue if that's ever going to actually be a thing or not, but that's the only one that I've ever heard a rumor. I don't think there's any rumors at all about Civic Type R getting an automatic. I don't think they're ever going to want to do an automatic in that car. Maybe the Acura would someday. Maybe they entertain it in that, but even that, I don't think they would, because it just seems like they just like doing too much parts sharing. So yeah, I'd say GR Corolla is gonna be your best bet as far as that. But as far as what is the best sporty all-wheel drive automatic car, well, if you're okay manually shifting everywhere, I'd say, probably like a Golf R, Audi S3, something like that is going to be the way to go. And I think honestly, the tuning and the transmission of the S3 I didn't have any issues with that compared to the Golf R. So if your money situation is flexible, maybe try out an Audi S3. I really like Audi's stuff as far as sporty all-wheel drive stuff. They're kind of my go-to brand, especially the RS stuff. I mean, RS3 is pure magic. Amazing. So yeah, and if you're talking like sporty, like nothing like hypercar or supercars, we're not talking about, if you're talking about like something somewhat practical, like, the GR Corollas and the Civic Type Rs, Audi RS3. If you can get one, if you can afford one, probably, yeah, I'm struggling to think of another car under 100 grand that's like all-wheel drive and is an automatic that's like that much fun. RS3 is just, yeah, it's got to be one of the top ones, if not the top, at least at any kind of normal price tag. Just so good. So that's probably my favorite, I think. Trucking Car Guy says we like to spread the love when we can. I appreciate everyone being generous with everyone else, and for all the super chats and all the members and stuff. I really appreciate it. And so let me see. Goth Walker says 1949 Ford is neat. The old Lincolns and Cadillacs also really neat cars. Yeah, love all those old Cadillacs. Amazing cars. Lincolns as well. Yeah, they're all so good. Even some of the Imperials, of the time are really cool. Dave V says my favorite 70s car is a Ford LTD wagon. Memories of rolling around in the back as it rolled around corners. Yeah, that sounds like a fun memory. Yeah, those are fun. And actually, I used to, back in the day, every once in a very blue moon, I would very rarely do this, but I would hop in the back of my parents' 1997 Subaru Impreza wagon that they had, the Outback Sport, like the Crosstrek, before the Crosstrek was like a thing. And there'd be a few times where we'd have to take extra people home or go somewhere or something, and I'd end up in the trunk in the wagon there. It was really rare, but it was a lot of fun doing the same kind of thing there. But yeah, those old Fords definitely have a lot more space. And Austin says, thanks for another great live stream. Really enjoy these. Thanks for joining in, Austin, and everyone here. We hit the 2-hour mark, so let me just make sure I don't miss any of the other last questions here. Cam Jam says, hot take, 2009 Corvette ZR1 is the best Corvette ever made. I've never driven that one, so I'd love to drive one someday and see for myself. But yeah, we'll have to see. I haven't driven the new Z06 either, but I'd be inclined to say that's my favorite. But got to drive everything to find out, to make sure for science. And Jordan says, appreciate these lives. Usually don't make it when you're live, but love listening to these in the background at work. Well, yeah, thanks for joining in, Jordan. And Yoth Worker says, stay away from the Audi unless have lots of money, so much maintenance. Yeah, I mean, and Jordan says they're not too bad. I don't know. I mean, it depends. I'd say the RS stuff, especially like an RS3, maybe this is me just being biased or something, but they are awesome enough. That is one of the few cars that I would probably take a risk on and just get an extended warranty, just because there's nothing like it. Nothing else has a 5-cylinder turbo. Nothing else has wider front tires than rear tires, skinnier tires in the back, just to make it more oversteery. Like, they just did so much off the wall stuff with the RS3, and I love the insanity. It is just like so commendable, so out of the ordinary for the car industry, and just so kooky. And I love that about it. And it's also just fantastic. It's just like awesome. In addition to being kooky, it's got character and it's really good at what it does, which is a really rare blend. Most cars are really good, or they're kind of kooky, and you kind of give them a pass because they're not the best, but they're fun. But the RS3 does both amazingly. It's fun and just hilarious, and doesn't take itself too seriously, but yet it is like amazing to drive too. Love the RS3. You can watch my review if you haven't yet. Anyone who's curious to hear me swoon on the RS3 more. But anyway, so yeah, that's when I would probably take a risk on myself. And all right, so yeah, say Trenton says thanks everyone who's able to donate, and thankfully got a membership there as well. And he also says everyone liked the video. Yeah, liking the videos always still does help for sure. So I appreciate all the likes on the channel. And I'm a Mikey says Spec B misses you, Matt. I agree, and I miss the Spec B as well. I'd love to figure out where that car is at now because I lost track of it since the prior owner lost it in a relationship, I think, unfortunately. So I'm hoping to kind of find out what's happened to the Spec B someday, but I'm not sure I will. But anyway, I do miss that car. And Trent Car Guy says, have a good week, everyone. And I want to echo that. Hope everyone has a great week. Trenton says, real quick, how is BMW xDrive, like M240i and 340i? I haven't driven it in any kind of winter situations, so I can't say as far as that goes, but it's been great. I did a review on an M235i xDrive. You can check out if you haven't, Trenton, and that'll give you my thoughts on what it's like from behind the wheel. But it seems like an average all-wheel drive system to me, nothing amazing, but gets the job done, for what you need it to do. And Jordan says a friend has a 17 RS3, amazing car, and generally not that much besides brakes and tires versus his old GTI. Well, there you go. That's good to hear. And so anyway, thank you all so much though for joining in here in the live stream. I really appreciate it. I hope you all have a great week. Stay tuned. There's going to be one the members already know, but there's going to be one vehicle I've waited a long time to review that I'll be posting this week. So I'm very excited for that. And so stay tuned for at least one great review this week. And I'll be out in the bullet here this week, filming lots more awesome content for you guys. But anyway, thank you all very much for watching. I'll see you guys on the next one. Have a great week and take care.